What we've essentially had in the crypto market was a ripping off of the Bandaid. There were obviously a lot of questions about, what was going to come next, were there going to be escalations, was there going to be U.S. involvement, and now all those questions have been answered. Maybe not the answers that the market wanted, which is why we're seeing red, but now we at least have some clarity about what may in fact be coming next, and we just have to watch and wait and see how that's going to play out. But I do have to say that meme coins in general, actually the whole market in general, has just been kind of brutalized by this uncertainty. And when we look at meme coins, Shiba Inu has actually been holding up better than most. In fact, when we look at the last 7 days, you guys can see that Shib amongst the top meme coins has been one of the least retracing meme coins in the market. That's actually a great sign. It's not saying much because we're still down about 9.3%, but we look at some others that are down 17%, 30%. It's frankly not that bad. Now, do we still have to make up some ground? Absolutely. The uncertainty has not been great for the meme coin market. Something that really is driven by sentiment. When sentiment is garbage, you're not going to do a whole lot. But I do have to say that I'm impressed with how Shiba Inu has been holding up. And there's this essentially Shib grab that's been going up, this supply grab that's been taking place. In fact, when we look at Shiba Inu holders, new all-time high again today. These times have not caused this wavering among Shiba Inu holders. I talked about this the other day, and I figured that we might get a drop kind of overnight as these as the U.S. dropped bombs on Iran. I figured we'd get some pullback in terms of holders. We haven't. Figured maybe we get some supply flow back to exchanges. We haven't. We're scraping new all-time lows in terms of exchange supply. So what you're seeing is just this huge grabbing of supply and new holders entering the space, people taking advantage of the cheap prices and the opportunity that exists here. And I've seen some questions of people asking, if that's the case, why isn't price rising? That's a great question. We've seen big accumulation happening, but the problem is that there is not extreme demand right now. Okay, you have some capitulation taking place. We're getting drugged down with this LP versus Ethereum. Excuse me, that is a big thing that a lot of people don't think about. Unfortunately, because of these LPs, as ETH price drops, because that's one of Shib's largest liquidity pools, it can drag the price of Shiba Inu down. And that's what's been happening for pretty much all ERC20s in the space. But what we need to see is an increase in demand. It's been very low in crypto. I mean, guys, for example, meme coin volume, 6.19 billion. That's not bad. But we've had days of, for example, back in December, of $26 billion in one single day, right? It's quite small compared to what it normally is. And, when we're just in these negative times, it's hard to really gain new traction. It's hard to convince this capital that's on the sidelines to re-enter the market. That's why we didn't get our leg down here. It's actually why we kind of built a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here in terms of USDT dominance. We got this little surge back up. Maybe we're still building kind of this wonky right shoulder here where we could get a surge back to the downside. Like I talked about in some other videos, some things are aligning to that. But that's the problem, is that the sellers and the LP have been enough to currently outweigh the accumulation that's taking place. Hopefully that makes sense for people. Now, what I will say is that a lot of people are still staying convicted. The big holders are still adding. Those are all promising signs. And what this shows you is that when there is, in fact, this pivot in the market, when there's, in fact, this confidence that we've been waiting for, it means that Shib can do some explosive things. It's not here right now. I'll tell you that. We've had some times where things were looking good and it looked like we were going to make some extensions, and then we got hit with some negative news. Negative news has been one of the biggest detriments to the crypto market here in 2025. It's what's, prevented Shib from extending and setting new cycle highs. It's what's prevented us from really gaining enough traction to set a new all-time high. It's not that Shib is bad, or it's not that, Shib is a scam like some people say, or it's not that Shib is dying like others have insinuated. It's just that the market has just been shit. That's the best way to describe it. And sometimes we have to get to these points of just absolute trash before we can make up some ground. It sucks. It is what it is. Crypto is not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of times where it is not easy. I can say for Shib, that's been a lot of this market cycle so far. But I understand that long term, we can make up some pretty serious ground. Long term, we will get into mass adoption. You have to understand that interest for meme coins has not disappeared. Interest for the crypto market has not disappeared. All right. It has essentially been paused, put on hold while large entities are accumulating, while institutional money is really taking advantage of these opportunities. And frankly, before we kick this thing back into high gear, before we get into the 10% of the world, the 20%, the 50% of the world in crypto, you're going to see meme coins still do incredibly well in this cycle, whatever that means, whether that means we're done by October, like prior cycles have suggested, whether this is an extension into 2026. We just have to watch, wait, and just make sure we're prepared for when those good things actually take place, for when those good times take off. So appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.